Well, listen, the Tua turn-up was stopped by the chill in Western New York. That was the Buffalo Bills defense.
And the interception kind of tells us story. I'm just going to play it for everybody at home full speed so they get a great understanding of what stood out. For me, RC, it was they never overreacted to some of the motions, and they never listened to Tua's eyes.
Yep.
Or Tua's eyes, excuse me. So one of the things that Miami has done a great job of this year is that inside-out motion. They are going to motion that guy from inside out and try to horizontally stretch the defense. Now, when they get into that too-high shell, Tua's going to try to use his eyes to affect that safety and that middle linebacker. He's as good as anybody right now in the NFL doing that.
Just last week, everyone was talking about Super Bowl and an MVP caliber season for Tua Tagovailoa after they scored 70 points on the Denver Broncos. And then this week, everyone's saying it was just one game. The Buffalo Bills, we lost one game. That's all it is. People, wake up. This is the NFL. Every single week, you have to bring your best A game. There are no days off. On any given Sunday, you've heard the cliche, on any given Sunday, your opponent could eat your lunch. It's not just one game. And in today's installment of Instant Reaction or Overreaction, I'm going to show you why. I love imitation and competition. They say imitation is the highest, the most sincere form of flattery. Last week, I noticed a couple people were bandying about the term Tua Tuesday when all of you know the original is here, Tua Tuesday, which is tomorrow, by the way. And now I find out that there's a couple Dolphins YouTubers out there trying to use the overreaction style of video. But, you know, it's an imitation. But good for them. And you might be saying, Barry, why would you be bringing this up in an instant reaction, overreaction video? Because that's exactly what the Miami Dolphins are facing right now. I told you last week that Bill Belichick gave the NFL the formula to beat the Miami Dolphins. And I also told you that other teams would begin to copy what Bill Belichick did. Fortunately for the Dolphins, the Patriots didn't have the offensive firepower to stay with the Miami Dolphins and score more points than the Miami Dolphins. That wasn't the problem with the Buffalo Bills. Let's look at a breakdown right here.
Tua turn-up was stopped by the chill in Western New York. That was the Buffalo Bills defense.
And the interception kind of tells us story. I'm just going to play it for everybody at home full speed so they get a great understanding of.
Now watch this. Watch what he talks about here and how he points out exactly what the problem was with the Miami Dolphins offense.
What stood out? For me, RC, it was they never overreacted to some of the motions, and they never listened to Tua's eyes.
Yep.
Or Tua's eyes, excuse me. So one of the things that Miami has done a great job of this year is that inside-out motion. They are going to motion that guy from inside out and try to horizontally stretch the defense. Now, when they get into that too-high shell, Tua's going to try to use his eyes to affect that safety and that middle linebacker. He's as good as anybody right now in the NFL doing that.
So this is the first.
Watch what this guy does to Tyreek on this play.
First thing, the reason that they are not affected by the motion is because we're going 4-on-3 on the top, and we're going to be late to the short. The same thing here. We're going 3-on-2 to the bottom, and we're going to be late to the short. So even though Tua's eyes can lie to you, we are telling him where to go with it.
Now, you got Tyreek Hill in the slot right here, okay? And this is what Tua does so good. He's catching this snap, and he is staring that way.
Staring that way. A lot of people say he throws to a spot, but in this particular instance, he did come off of that initial stare, but he expects that play. I mean, he expects that play to be open.
I'm going to try to get my guy the football because I'm trying to get that middle linebacker to just drift that way to open up this seam down the middle of the field to my tight end.
But see, nobody has to move because they've already spent.
Look at that. Look how that linebacker just got in front of Tyreek Hill and said, you're not coming to the middle. I'm not going to let you.
Let me ask you a question. Why is this happening right here?
Well,
why is Matt Milano doing that?
Because Matt Milano knows this about Tua Tagovailoa.
And that's a linebacker on Tyreek.
Marcus Spears always says that his superpower is accuracy. To me, it's belief. It's belief in what he's seen throughout the week. He knows if he can get Tyreek right now, he has a run and catch. But if somebody's being aggressive here, if this backer has been drawn to my eyes, I should be able to move up top right now. And the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott played off of that.
That's big time.
And obviously, Tyreek did not expect that he was going to be confronted that way. Otherwise, he may have tried to get around him, but Matt Milano just locked on it.
Because as that seam's trying to get thrown, I want everyone at home to pay attention to that middle linebacker. Because Tua, again, is staring down here, and he never moves. That is very rare this year to be playing zone defense.
He not only never moved, he never looked at him.
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
He was so sure that Matt Milano was going to lock up Tyreek. He didn't even pay any attention to the in-breaking on Tyreek that Tyreek was doing.
They aren't trying to beat Tua Tagovailoa. They're trying to beat Tua's skill players, and that's what they're doing by being locked into what they're supposed to do.
Now understand what he said. I'm not worried about Tua. I'm going to take on Tyreek, and I'm going to make sure that Tyreek doesn't have a fun day today. I'm just going to beat on him all day long. Even though the guy runs a 4-2, he's not going to get this in-break. And my 4 guys up front, just my 4 guys are going to give enough pressure where I can basically cover these receivers with 7 guys.
Now look, Tua gets to the top, and he goes from staring down here and in one hitch coming up top and believing that while he's staring there, that linebacker is going to fly that way and he's going to be able to wrap that seam. And this ball is going to sail. It's not because Tua misses the throw. It's because Tua feels that color from that middle linebacker. And so he's trying to place that ball over the top and ends up sailing to that safety.
The thing that's been great about Tua Tagovailoa the entire season is that belief, but things have come open. If you look at what Sean McDermott was able to do.
And also understand, by doing that with Tyreek, that 2.2 second release, that's off the table. Now he can't hit Tyreek on a quick in break or Jalen Waddle. That's not there. Now that time for the defensive line to react is becoming much more prevalent.
He said no single high. We're not going to allow you to run through zones.
Why?
Because he couldn't run.
Why no single high?
Because single high allows everything to come into Tua's line of vision. Okay. And you have to take something. You have to grab something. You have to hold on to something. Whereas when you're in split safety defense, you always know you have a halo.
It's so interesting, and I hope everyone is learning as much from this as we do. And the one thing I keep going back to, and Rex says it all the time, you can't do any of that if you're not just rushing your 4 guys.
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to blitz.
Now, that's absolutely vital. You can't do any of the stuff in the background if you don't have the personnel to actually get to the ball just with your 4 guys. They didn't even have to blitz. They blitzed sometime, but they didn't have to because their defensive line beat the crap out of the Miami Dolphins offensive line. Wait till you see the Philadelphia Eagles game. I mean, you've got Fletcher Cox, you've got Jordan Davis, you've got Jalen Carter. They are going to destroy the Miami Dolphins offensive line if Mike McDaniel doesn't come up with a much better scheme. All right, now that you understand how the Buffalo Bills broke down the Miami Dolphins offense and they basically replicated what Bill Belichick had done, and I guarantee you're going to see that more and more this season, let's go to my weekly awards.
The good stuff.
Despite a near 30-point blowout, there was actually some good play on the Miami Dolphins. I want to give a hat tip to Tua Tagovailoa and Andrew Van Ginkel. Although Mike McDaniel let Tua stay in late in the game for no other reason than to pad stats, Tua did play pretty well, and he played some tough, hard-nosed football. Yes, he threw an interception, almost threw a pick 6, and had some really bad throws, but overall, what we saw Tua doing was he was fighting. He was fighting to win the game. And the way AVG has been playing, he may cause Bradley Chubb to ride the bench next week. Chubb is doing nothing out there. I mean, nothing. Andrew Van Ginkel subbed in for an injured Jalen Phillips, and he brought the heat. He just completely outplayed Bradley Chubb. Hey, Fangio, how about a tip? How about leaving AVG and Jalen Phillips in the game and benching Bradley Chubb?
This was the best.
Devon Achane continues to impress. This kid has made us all forget about Dalvin Cook and Jonathan Taylor. In fact, he may have moved up to RB1 on the depth chart, and he also may have cost Jeff Wilson a job.
Grading the coach.
While everyone can have a bad day, Mike McDaniel actually looked lost on the sidelines against the Buffalo Bills. He was thoroughly outcoached. Bad play calling, back to last year's delay of game penalties and getting the communication and getting the play into Tua, and no adjustments were made during the game or during halftime. Mike, You took the L on this one. We're going to have to give you a C. It's a long season, but now that the offense has been exposed twice in 4 weeks, Mike McDaniel needs to get back to the drawing board and make some serious adjustments. Vic Fangio, on the other hand, I'm disgusted. All you do is complain about players not being there, that you don't have the personnel yet. Meanwhile, you still collect that check, that big check. You've been on the job since March or so. You've had 7 or 8 long months to put something together. Stop making excuses. There are plenty of defensive coordinators in the league who don't feel they have the personnel. At this point, it is what it is. What everyone saw in this game just wasn't a lack of personnel. It was complete loss of fundamental football. The team couldn't even tackle. Not sure if they even keep a stat on missed tackles, but the Miami Dolphins would be at the bottom of the league, obviously. Check out these stats. So I saw this tweet by Joe Shad, and it just completely blew me away and underscored my disgust with Vic Fangio. The Miami Dolphins are 25th in defensive yards per game allowed, 28th in points per game allowed, 25th passing yards per game allowed, and 22nd rushing yards per game allowed, and 18th in sacks. And that's in a league with only 32 teams. So you can see how far down to the bottom the Miami Dolphins defensive unit is. Fangio makes something like $4 or $5 million a year, and this is the product that he puts out on the field. Totally unacceptable. So much for being a defensive guru. All the gurus I know, all the people I know who are gurus, they come up with solutions, not excuses. You've been exposed, and the league now knows your scheme. And why you would leave Kader Kohou on an island all by himself covering Stefon Diggs, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, is absolute insanity. You abused that kid and you left him out there all game long without any help. That's inexcusable. I'm gonna have to give you an F grade, dude. It was awful, and you better do something real soon. The Dolphins currently have a Super Bowl offense and less than a wild card chance on defense. You gotta fix it, man. No excuses.
My defensive player of the game.
In a 30-point beatdown, there's not much to celebrate, but I gotta give defensive player of the game to Andrew Van Ginkel. 2 sacks, he shows up, he's got heart, he kept fighting the entire game. Let's hope he's a starter as an edge rusher next week.
My offensive player of the game.
Devon Achane. I don't know what else to say. This kid is fantastic. He is a superstar. As I said last week, I apologize for questioning that draft pick, but he's shown he can play. 8 carries, 101 yards, 12.6 yards per carry. Oh my God. And what I like most in terms of this kid and how he's looking like a superstar, he played the same way last week. He played the same way as if he was up by 30 points or down by 30 points. He just kept running, kept churning. Definitely a superstar in the making. He's an absolute delight to watch on the football field.
This was bad.
Other than Andrew Van Ginkel, the rest of the defense was pure poop. It's not just about losing. They were completely out-toughed. They looked like beat men out there. They couldn't even tackle. How bad was it? Listen to this. The Buffalo Bills ran the ball 29 times. Your 2 front guys, Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins, were awful. Zach Sealer at least had 4 tackles. Christian Wilkins, who's looking for the big bag, had 2 tackles. 29 running attempts, and he had 2 tackles. Dude, you don't earn $20 million a year playing tough against the Broncos and then not showing up against a team like the Buffalo Bills. Smart move again by Chris Greer by not paying Christian Wilkins until after the season. Wilkins has a long way to go to get the big money bag that he wants.
This was really bad.
Kader, my brother, you own this one, but I really feel for you. As I said, Stefon Diggs is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and Vic Fangio hung you out to dry. Y'all gonna have to deal with that internally, but you got flat out embarrassed all day. I'm pretty sure watching the film today won't be fun for Kader Kohou. But dude, don't take it lying down. Give Fangio a piece of your mind. He left you out on that island all game long for no reason whatsoever. Never even made an adjustment. He saw, as we saw, what was going on all game, and he brought you no help. And there's absolutely no excuse for that. We'll never know, and obviously the media won't ask, but damn, that was awful.
Don't beat yourself.
2 turnovers and 8 penalties for nearly 100 yards. While those mistakes didn't account for the entirety of the 48 points that the Buffalo Bills scored, they definitely contributed. Championship teams can't make those kind of mistakes. Championship teams don't make those kind of mistakes. It's not the fact that the Miami Dolphins were beaten badly by the Buffalo Bills. It's the fact that they were embarrassed and were out-toughed. But luckily for the Miami Dolphins, they have 2 cupcakes to play in the next couple of weeks that'll help them feel a little bit better and get the fans feeling a little bit better. But then you have the Philadelphia Eagles, and God help this defense. Let me know what you think about my overreaction or instant reaction. What was it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Just go ahead and let me know. Thanks for watching. Fins up, and it can't get much worse than what we just saw this past game.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?